How's it going, college football fans? It is your boy, the Jared Sawyer, coming to you here with our final edition for this season 6 of Cows and Quacks. Joined always is my co-host, Mr. Tim Alcorn. Tim, show the folks some love, brother.
Man, we appreciate everybody listening. We had one of them right, one of them wrong last week, and I think we did pretty good in the bowl season, didn't we?
We did.
I went 10-4. I think about the same, didn't you?
Yeah. We I think you had one more win over mine. Ended the season here. You're at a 71 win percentage. I'm at 65. So
I'll put that against. I'll put our two against anybody in the country.
If you're listening and you want to win some money, take our bets.
Yeah, absolutely.
Always bet on it. So, biggest surprise of the season to you, good or bad? What was your biggest surprise of the season?
I think the biggest surprise, obviously, probably has to be Cincinnati. And also going with that, the biggest surprise is if Cincinnati makes a few extra plays. They beat Alabama in that game. Alabama didn't just destroy them. It was a close game. I mean, I don't care what the score says. A few plays here and there, and it could have been a different outcome.
Yeah, I watched the game through and through. Cincinnati didn't execute when they needed to.
And that took a couple times on the end zone. One, it got tipped when it was a wide open touchdown, a slant play, and the next one, the guy that couldn't bring it in the end zone that was a little bit too high. Those 14 points make a big difference, and it's a different ball game. You know, they're probably up going into the second half, which makes it a very big, different ball game.
It's a very different ball game. I was more impressed with the way Cincinnati's defense played.
Yes, they did.
I was fantastically impressed by them. I was stunned, but it makes sense. So what that game told me, and you tell me if you're on the same page, is that Little Sisters of the Poor can play with the Blue Bloods.
It's getting close. It's getting closer, and it's going to get closer. And it's like mid majors in basketball. It's going to happen. It's going to happen down the road. Alabama's got their dominance. Alabama's going to be dominant, and I think they'll take a step back when Saban retires. I don't think that's too far down the road. We'll see. I do believe that at this point, I believe that Lane Kiffin is heir apparent. Do you believe that?
Him or Dabo Swinney?
Yeah. I don't know if Dabo will leave Clemson. I don't know that he should leave Clemson.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what direction Alabama goes with that. Speaking of dominance, how about them Bulldogs?
I expected more from Michigan.
I did too.
But shame on me for kind of just jumping right off the bandwagon because out of 15 games so far, I believe it is, they've had one bad defensive performance. Period. And the offense looked pretty good.
They looked really, really good. And
that's a pretty good Michigan defense. That defense only giving 13 points a game. It's not like Michigan had a bad defense.
No, I was actually really surprised that Michigan didn't come out better than they did. I didn't think that there was that big of an athletic disparity between the two teams. I felt like they're actually pretty evenly matched, but Georgia just had that edge to them, man. That edge we've seen all season came out in this game. I think this national championship is going to be a doozy. I
think it will. I got a different topic I want to bring up. We hired your guy away from Pittsburgh, who, by the way, he did such a fantastic job with that quarterback. And
Marion,
wouldn't be surprised if that quarterback don't end up with Mike Jackson in the second round. But I believe he's going to go in the first. So what leads me to believe is that Tech the go offense. I explain what that is and what Texas fans should be excited about.
So first of all, I've gotten to know Coach Marion just through a weird series of connections. He's a West Coast guy. He coached at Hawaii for a while, and he's an innovator. A lot of NFL people are starting to implement more of his offensive scheme. You know, he got a job at Pittsburgh, and now he's taken it to the next level, which, like I said in my text message to you, you guys won the damn lottery. I mean, if you put him with Sark, it's going to be interesting to see the evolution of the go-go offense get implemented. So, go-go. Best way I can describe it. Actually, I've been messaging Coach Marin a lot. We'll try to have him on to really describe what the offense is, because it's his offense. So it'd be great to hear it from him directly. He's been a little busy. In essence, Tim, think. How do I put this? So the way Chip Kelly developed his offense, probably the best way to say it. The way Chip Kelly developed his offense was he took skill players, okay, and put them in space against other skill players. And he was betting that if you could isolate players, like in basketball, like an ISO play, right? If you could isolate that person, that it's going to favor the offense, because defensive players have to be reactionary. And not always going to be the way it is. But so what he would do is he would create plays to isolate guys like DeAnthony Thomas one-on-one on the outside with a corner who good freaking luck. I mean, the guy like that had insane skills. Or LaMichael James or Josh Huff or something like that. This offense works very similar to that in that it makes isolation plays happen where teams have to choose where they're going to go with their defense. So if it's a receiver that they're isolating to get the ball, for instance, and they got to sneak a safety over to cover, right, and run a cover 2 or cover 1 zone, then they open up a gap elsewhere. And so what they'll do, and if you ever go back and watch some of the old Chip Kelly offenses, what he'll do is he'll run 2 setup plays to see what the defense is doing to adjust, and then take a big shot. Marin does a lot of the same stuff. So he'll do adjustment setup plays to kind of see, okay, this is what the defense is doing. And then boom, the same formation runs a completely different pattern, and the ball goes somewhere completely else. And by the time you realize it, they're in the end zone.
Well, when I think of that offense, I think of, was it Dennis Dixon? What was the quarterback that blew his leg out?
Dennis Dixon blew his leg out, yeah.
Yeah, and y'all were going to win the national championship. Y'all were unstoppable, in my opinion, anyhow, that year. I would have liked to have seen how his whole career would have been had that accident not happened.
Yeah. Dennis Dixon was good, and where his career really picked up was, so 2006 you started seeing Oregon implement more of it. 2007 is when it really took off.
He was so electric, man.
And it gave a guy like that a lot of opportunity. It evolved more into what Helfrich did at Oregon with Mariota. And then you saw the pinnacle of that. You saw it go over the top. I mean, the game against Florida State is a great example of, if a defense is not disciplined and you isolate skill players that are faster or quicker than the defensive players, it is going to be a very difficult game to win. The thing that the Go-Go does that's a little bit different is they also run power formations. So the spread doesn't really do that. I mean, they can, right, like goal line stuff. Right. But
it's more like the pistol, but maybe a pistol on steroids.
Pistol's a one back over the quarterbacks, usually left or right, and they're about a half step back behind the center. This one they can go right under center if they want to. They can take it out of the shotgun, which they usually do, because it gives them, especially in college, gives them a little bit more opportunity to read the defense, especially on a little bit slower developing plays. And there are some that are. When it executes right, it's very difficult to beat. Go watch Pittsburgh 2021 if you want to get a good feel for what Texas is going to look like. If you implement that with what Sarkisian knows, and then you start talking about the athletes Texas has, dude, getting chills talking about it.
Yeah, expect Xavier Worthy and Bijan Robinson to have gigantic years.
I would say so, but it's not going to be in the way you necessarily think of a traditional, pro style offense, right? It's not going to be the same thing. So be patient with it. It might take a couple recruiting classes to get the right personnel in place to run the offense as effectively as Sean and, as Marion and Sarkisian would like to see. But I'm telling you, if it gets implemented the right way, it is going to be a deadly force to deal with for the Big 12 and the SEC for that matter. I mean, it's going to be a hard offense to stop.
It's going to be a hard offense with Robinson and Worthy. Those are two dynamic sophomores. It's gonna be interesting to see how it works out, and I think Ewers is going to start. And I don't expect national championship from Ewers the first year, maybe not in the second year, but maybe the third. The kid's the real deal. He's one of the biggest prospects to come out in a long time.
Yeah, it should be really interesting to see what happens. I feel
what
like
about the Rose Bowl?
Hold
on, we gotta talk about the Rose Bowl.
This is a hell of a game, man. That's my favorite. That was my favorite bowl game of this entire bowl season, by far. Might even be my favorite game of the year.
I was screaming. Let him score. They should have let Ohio State score. That's the only chance they had. They should have just let him score.
That guy got knocked out.
Yeah.
I mean, and I felt bad for it because that changed the whole complexity of the game in that moment in the fourth quarter. Utah played a hell of a game, man. They did. I mean, that's a testament to Whittingham's ability to coach his guys up because they were vastly overmatched. Ohio State is so talented, and it showed. But you got to give it to the kid. I mean, how many yards did he have? Like something like close to 600 yards passing.
Crazy.
Yeah, and
the receiver from Texas had 347. He's from here. He's from my state.
Yeah, he set an NCAA record. I mean,
yeah,
that was obscene, and he was pushing people off of him and stiff arming and dragging guys into the end zone. Like that kid. So he's not the starter, by the way. There's just some injuries that happened. He happened to be the guy up for that game.
He wasn't the starter.
Yeah. So talk about making the most of an opportunity when it presents itself. Like that is phenomenal. So yeah, he's gonna have a long career in the pros wherever he goes. And should be a solid receiver. I mean, and you saw the difference between good, decent college corners and an NFL prospect. Like it was just an obvious difference there. Got to give it to Ohio State. After Utah came out firing, I thought they were done. And then there was the second quarter in that game, which was probably the most entertaining quarter in football this entire season, where I think over the course of 5 minutes there was 6 touchdowns. Like it was
crazy, just unbelievable.
It was nutso, man. So I don't think I've ever seen a Rose Bowl like that before. That was a lot of fun, and I wanted Utah to win. I wanted to see them get a Rose Bowl win, keep it in the pack, but it's hard to beat Ohio State.
Hey, Notre Dame Oklahoma State was a great game too, incredible game.
Yeah, we back and forth quite a bit, man.
Yeah, Oklahoma State just like Ohio State come back from the dead to win that game.
Yeah, it's pretty remarkable. This bowl season's been an interesting one to watch. I gotta say, man, I cannot imagine that this national championship isn't going to be electric. I know that it's a rematch. I get it, but if we're looking at the teams in college football, I do feel like these are the 2 best teams.
They are.
You there?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't see any teams that I would say that from what I've seen belong in this conversation more so than these 2. And I can't stand the bias of the SEC, but at the end of the day, these are the 2 best teams in the country. So,
well, they won 3 bowl games, and they're going to win the 4th, but they're going to lose 1 too. It's top heavy. After the top heavy, let's just admit they're average.
Yeah, and that's fine. I mean, a lot of conferences are like that. In a typical year, Clemson's the top-heavy favorite, maybe Florida State here or there.
Yeah.
You have Michigan, Ohio State. Every now and then Michigan State's good or Penn State's good, but for the most part, it's those 2. Out west, it's usually USC, Oregon, or it's Washington, or, it's usually a top-heavy conference. Very rarely do you see a conference, and I actually think it happens more in the Big 12, where you have between teams 1 and 4, they're all very close in being competitive with each other.
Yeah, it does happen in the Big 12 a lot.
Yeah,
I've seen Oklahoma's just better usually.
Yeah. Speaking of Caleb Williams, has he announced where he's going yet?
No, he has not.
Man.
And he may come back to Oklahoma. I don't think he will, since that's a big getting Dylan to go to Oklahoma. I think Dylan will start there.
Yeah, that's gonna be big for them. I think Oklahoma's gonna have a pretty.
I'm so proud for that kid.
Yeah, man, he's had quite the journey, hasn't he?
Yeah, he.
Keep cutting out on me, Tim. You there?
Yeah, I'm here. Bo Nix.
What's that? I'm having trouble hearing you, brother.
Can you hear? Is that better?
There you go. There he is. You still
Hello?
there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you are. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. What was you asking?
Are you excited about Bo Nix?
I'm cautiously optimistic about Bo Nix. I'm not like over the top, like dancing the streets excited about him. He's a great quarterback. I've seen him in person, right? Saw what he did to Oregon in the Cotton Bowl Classic when that was the Jerry Jones Classic when we opened up the season a couple years ago with them. I know he's going to be playing with his offensive coordinator, and so whenever that happens, obviously it's going to create a lot of how do I put it? He's going to be the favorite to win the job just by that alone because he understands the offense and what's required of him and can execute it. And so I think for Dillingham to get that guy to come in and run the offense in year one with what's going to happen with the defense, I think speaks to a really, really huge opportunity for Oregon. Where that leaves our quarterback room, I don't know.
Is it Tyler Thompson?
Yeah, it's Ty Thompson. It was presumably.
I mean, he's probably the better athlete.
I would imagine he is. I mean, Bo Nix was no slouch coming out of high school, though. I mean, he was a highly recruited guy. We had a 4-star Robbie Ashford transfer out yesterday. I hate to see him go. It's actually one of my favorite players that's come to Oregon. He's a dual athlete. He plays baseball and football, and decided he's going to transfer. So we'll see where he goes, and hope the best for him, man. And his mom's been a huge part of the fan base on Twitter. And so it's disappointing, but this comes with the territory. You know, when you have very talented teams and highly recruited athletes, they want to play football, and I get it. I don't blame the kids at all for leaving, and I hope they succeed. I hope they succeed where they go.
No, if I'm gonna ride the bench, or I know I can start somewhere. You know, I mean, I'm competitive. I'm gonna go start somewhere.
Well, exactly, and that's the whole point. Yeah. These guys are at the level they're at because they want to get trained up and they want to make a professional team. Totally makes sense. And I get it. You got to make some tough calls and you got to go do some tough things with that. What I will say is I'm a fan of whomever will win Oregon football games. So you know, whether that's Bo Nix or Ty Thompson or whomever, if they can come in and effectively run the offense, and Oregon can win, then that's my guy. I'm a sellout.
In Texas, I expect Hoovers to win the starting job. I think that I was probably promised to him when he committed back to us. That's
pretty cool. Yeah, I like it when players do that.
He was the number one player in the nation, so I get it. You know.
Yes. No.
Well, it's time, man.
Let's pick it, Tim. Let's pick it.
It's time. You know, I mean, it's going to be a shorter program today, but that's okay.
You won the annual win percentage here, so I will let you round it out. I'll go first, and I'll let you have your final say on this one.
I got you.
Of Oregon to win the national championship. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm in 2023.
Yeah, possibly. We'll see. I'm riding with the Georgia Bulldogs on this from what I saw, I do not think Alabama gets this Georgia defense twice. I just don't see it happening. I think there are a lot of things happening with Georgia and with Dan Lanning that kind of maybe led to some distractions for the SEC championship that didn't manifest themselves last week in the semifinal. I think Georgia's hit their stride with their quarterback. I think their defense is ready to go. And I honestly believe that this will be a turning point for Kirby Smart and the entire program. I have Georgia winning this thing. I'm gonna go 24-17. Go Dogs.
We're both on the same team. I don't think you're going to beat them twice. And they played like they were a defense with a chip on their shoulder. They looked like they were very pissed off about the Alabama game. And I do believe that they are a generational defense. I think that I might have been wrong about Stetson Bennett. I think that maybe he's just got to carry him another game. And I have it a little closer. I have it 27-23. That being said, I believe if this, I don't know if this makes sense. I believe it's going to be a close game, but I believe it's a game that Georgia kind of controls. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And here we are picking Georgia and picking against Nick Saban in the national championship.
It was over in the first quarter against a very good Michigan team. A Michigan team that if you would have put me on the spot last week, I would have probably said they're going to win it all. And what I saw them do to a team that destroyed Ohio State and destroyed Iowa, I have to give it to them. I have to give it to what they did to Michigan. It was surprising to me.
I think so. I was taken back by that big time because I don't think any of us really understood where Georgia was at mentally. The way they bounced back and focused, because Michigan is very capable of beating anybody. And they just completely torched them.
I got to admit, in my mind, I felt like Alabama might have broken them. And that's not the case.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that, man. So, game's coming up soon. Going to be excited to watch this one. It's going to be a lot of fun. I got a couple of buddies of mine that are headed to Indy. They're big Bulldog fans, and so it's going to be really good. It's been really interesting what's happened with the Oregon fan base. We've all turned into Georgia Bulldog fans because of Dan Lanning. So we're kind of collectively really bought in to see him finish strong. What an opportunity for him. I mean, really. I mean, you get to finish a national and win a national championship with the guys you recruited in year one, and then move on to take over as a head coaching job at Oregon.
Hey, if they can get it done, what a recruitment tool when you're sitting in the living room with some parents and some kids and saying, "Hey, I know how to win a national championship."
Yep. I
was defensive coordinator for the greatest defense in the history of college, arguably, and you could say that, and that's a big recruiting tool.
And then you can go, "Hey, how about your son come play for me? I'll make sure he gets to the pros. Look what I did at Georgia. I'm doing it."
And that's like I saw recruiting what Saban can say. Saban can go in and say every class that's I've ever recruited have won a ring. That's fucking, excuse my language, that's amazing.
That's
every
insane.
class that he's ever recruited has a national championship. Let that sink in for a second.
It doesn't even sound real, but yeah, it's amazing.
It was something fantasy it's something fantasy that you would think, but no, every class he's ever recruited has won a national championship. And that is even at LSU.
Yeah, that's pretty impressive. So, listen, listeners, we really appreciate you. We appreciate you guys getting involved. I hear from you mainly on Twitter. I don't know, Tim, if they hit you on Facebook, but guys, keep it up. I love talking to various fans, even from different fan groups, and talking and hearing different stories. We're gonna be back next week for a wrap up show.
Yeah, we should find a way to get Jeff on.
We are. We're gonna have Jeff on next
would,
week.
I'd really like to. I want to hear him boast about what his Buckeyes did with what they have 30 players out.
yeah, no kidding. I mean, with them, they travel with all 5 stars, so it doesn't really matter who shows up. But
yeah. Like I was. Someone was saying about Stroud, he's going to be a great pro, and I was saying, hey, I was in a group, of course, that made him mad. I said, he's by statistics, he's going to be a bust. And what do you mean? I said, well, they've never had one good quarterback ever. And I was trying to tell this person. I said, listen, it's easy to look like a great quarterback when you're always throwing to 5-star receivers.
It's true.
They are open enough for a throw that wouldn't be caught before is caught now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah,
that separation is there. That and that separation is not there. It won't be there in the pros, but it's there through. They've had that. Those 5 stars have had that separation since they've been 6, 7 years old playing football, and it's easy to be an incredible quarterback. I'll give you a great example about a 5-star that's in the pros, though. Randy Moss made Dante Culpepper look like the greatest quarterback ever.
Randy Moss can make a lot of quarterbacks look that way.
Yeah. To me, still, as far as talent, I've never seen anything like Randy Moss. I mean, he would go up against three receivers and snatch the ball out of the air. I've never quite seen anything like it. Sometimes he quit on plays. That was the problem. But I've never seen any raw talent better than him. Have you?
No, Randy Moss is he's something special. And so what's your take on our boy with the Buccaneers? Do you think he really had a sprained ankle? Antonio Brown?
Yeah, what do you think happened there?
Oh, I think they did him dirty. I think
they did too.
I think they didn't want to pay out $100,000 in incentives, and they kept him out of the game.
A million.
Excuse me. I forgot a zero. And when he figured that out, he lost it. I think Antonio Brown's got some issues he's got to deal with, obviously. But
I think there's more to the story. And I think he's just getting thrown under the bus.
I do too. I think it's a scapegoat for something. I think it's fairly messed up what happened to him. I hope he does.
And if I was, say, the Cowboys right now or Green Bay or someone, I'd be trying to. But, the Buccaneers are smart. They have a release team, And if they don't release him, nobody else can pick him up, which they're still doing him dirty.
They are doing him dirty. I hope that clears up for Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
I hope he gets on a good team.
I do too. And
they don't try to screw him.
Give the kid a chance to play. And I do believe they did him dirty. That's just me.
Why is it always receivers? What is it about that?
Nobody else. They
What-
do it to receivers, though.
We will find an answer to this along with more questions, but until next time.